The chandeliers in the Grand Meridian Hotel lobby threw diamonds of light across marble floors. Park Ji-hoon loosened his tie and squinted against the brightness. 3 whiskeys at the business dinner had left his vision soft at the edges. He was supposed to be celebrating. The merger had gone through. His father would be pleased for once. But all Ji-hoon felt was the familiar weight pressing down on his chest, the one that never left no matter how many deals he closed. He moved toward the elevator, then stopped. Through the glass doors of the hotel bar, he saw her. She wore the cream-colored uniform of the housekeeping staff, but she'd pulled her hair free from its usual bun. Dark coils fell past her shoulders as she sat alone at a corner table, staring at something on her phone. Even from here, he could see the tension in her jaw. The way her fingers gripped the glass in front of her a little too tightly. Sandra had made a mistake coming here. The bar was too expensive, too exposed. But Jade had insisted, practically pushing her through the doors before disappearing to take a phone call. "You're turning 25 next week," Jade had said earlier, with that look in her eyes that meant she was about to meddle. "And you've never even—" "I know what I've never done," Sandra had cut her off. "So maybe it's time to change that. Live a little. Find someone who makes you forget to think." Now Jade was gone and Sandra was alone with an overpriced drink she couldn't really afford, feeling foolish. She should go back to her room. The small staff quarters on the 5th floor where she could disappear into her books and pretend the world outside didn't exist. Then a shadow fell across her table. "Is this seat taken?" The voice was smooth, slightly rough around the edges. Sandra looked up. The man standing there wore a suit that probably cost more than her monthly salary. Dark hair fell across his forehead, and his eyes held something she recognized. The same exhaustion she saw in her own mirror. "It's a free country," she said. A small smile touched his lips as he sat down. "I'm Ji-hoon." "Sandra. You work here?" She nodded, suddenly self-conscious of her uniform. "Housekeeping." "I'm supposed to be celebrating," he said, not really answering any question she'd asked. "But it feels more like a funeral." There was something disarming about his honesty. "What are you celebrating?" "A cage being locked," he said, then shook his head. "Sorry. Too much whiskey, not enough sense." "I understand cages," Sandra said quietly. Their eyes met and something passed between them. Recognition, perhaps. Two people who didn't quite fit in their own lives. They talked for an hour. Then 2. Ji-hoon told her about the family business he'd never wanted, the expectations that felt like stones in his pockets pulling him under. Sandra told him about moving here from Atlanta 2 years ago, how she was saving for nursing school even though the numbers never quite added up. How her mother had wanted more for her but cancer didn't care about dreams. "I should go," she said eventually, though she didn't move. "Should you?" "Yes." But still she stayed. He reached across the table and his fingers brushed hers, barely a touch. "I don't do this," she said. "I'm not." "Neither am I," he interrupted. And maybe it was the drinks, or maybe it was Jade's words echoing in her head, or maybe it was simply the way he looked at her like she was real and solid and worthy of being seen. "Room 412, she said, her heart beating so hard she could hear it. "My shift ended an hour ago." She led him through the service corridors, away from the main elevators where guests traveled. The narrow hallways smelled of cleaning supplies and laundry detergent. Her hand shook as she unlocked the door to her small room. "We don't have to," he started. But she kissed him before he could finish the sentence. His hands found her waist, gentle at first, then more certain. She had imagined this moment differently, something more planned, more meaningful. In the quiet moments between kisses when they simply breathed together. Afterward, they lay tangled in cheap hotel sheets that smelled like industrial bleach. His fingers traced patterns on her shoulder. "I wish," he began. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't wish. Just be here now." So he was. Until the sky began to lighten outside her window. Until responsibility and reality came knocking. When Sandra woke, he was gone. No note. No number. Just the impression of his body still warm beside her and a hair tie on the nightstand that wasn't hers. He must have taken it by mistake. She told herself it didn't matter. It had been one night. A mistake. That was supposed to be the end of it. 6 weeks later, Sandra stood in the staff bathroom holding a plastic stick that had just rewritten her entire future. Pregnant. The word felt too big for her mouth. Jade grabbed her shoulders. Okay. Okay, we figure this out. Do you have his number? No. His last name? Park. That's all I know. Park Ji-hoon. Jade pulled out her phone and started searching. Her face went pale. Sandra. Please tell me you didn't sleep with Park Ji-hoon. As in Park Ji-hoon, CEO of Park Industries. As in one of the wealthiest men in Seoul. Sandra's knees went weak. No. He said he worked in business. He didn't. There are like 50 articles about him. He's everywhere. His family owns half the city. Jade shoved the phone into Sandra's hands. There he was. The same face she'd memorized in the dark. But this version wore a different expression, cold and distant, standing next to an older man in what looked like a corporate photo. I can't tell him, Sandra heard herself say. What? You have to. Look at him, Jade. Look at that world. What am I supposed to do, show up at his office? Tell his secretary the maid is pregnant? They'd throw me out before I got through the door. Or worse. So what, you're just going to raise this baby myself, Sandra said, the decision settling in her bones. I'll figure it out. Babies. Plural. Sandra stared at her. The ultrasound, Jade said gently. You have your first one tomorrow, right? I'm just saying, with twins running in your family. Sandra sat down hard on the closed toilet seat. Twins. Of course. Because one baby would have been too simple. The months that followed were a blur of morning sickness and double shifts. Sandra's belly grew round and tight. The hotel manager, Mrs. Chen, noticed eventually. You have someone? She asked, not unkindly. No, ma'am. But you're keeping it? Them, Sandra corrected. Twins. Mrs. Chen's expression softened. My daughter's room is empty. She moved to New York last year. It's not much, but it's bigger than staff quarters. And there's space for cribs. Sandra's eyes burned. I can't afford. Same rent. Consider it an investment in my future babysitters. Small kindnesses like that kept her afloat. Jade moved in to help. Together they painted the second bedroom pale yellow, arguing cheerfully about whether dinosaurs or clouds made better wall decals. At night, Sandra would lie awake with her hands on her stomach, feeling the twins tumble and kick. She tried not to think about Ji-hoon, but failed every time. Park Ji-hoon stood in his father's office, the same office where he'd stood 1,000 times before. The family needs heirs, his father said, as if discussing quarterly reports. You're 32. It's time. I'm not ready. Ready? His father's laugh was sharp. You think your grandfather was ready? You think I was ready? This isn't about ready. This is about duty. I need more time. For what? To waste your youth in hotel bars? Ji-hoon's head snapped up. His father smiled without warmth. You think I don't know? That night after the merger celebration, you disappeared for hours. Came back looking like a different person. That was months ago. 8 months, to be precise. And still you walk around like a ghost. Whoever she was, forget her. Find someone suitable. Someone who understands our world. But Ji-hoon couldn't forget. He'd tried. God, he'd tried. He'd thrown away her hair tie from his pocket 12 times but always retrieved it from the trash. He'd driven past the Grand Meridian more times than he could count, never stopping. He'd attended matchmaking meetings with daughters of business partners, women with perfect pedigrees and empty eyes. None of them were her. None of them looked at him like he was human instead of a dynasty. Sandra went into labor on a Tuesday. Jade drove her to the hospital while timing contractions on her phone. You're doing great, Jade kept saying. You're so strong. But Sandra didn't feel strong. She felt terrified and alone and completely unprepared. The labor lasted 14 hours. When they finally placed the babies on her chest, both of them screaming and perfect and impossibly small, something inside her shifted. A boy and a girl, the nurse said, smiling. Sandra looked down at their faces. The boy had Ji-hoon's nose. The girl had his eyes. She felt the loss of him all over again, sharp and clean. Their names? The nurse asked. Isaiah, Sandra said, touching her son's tiny hand. And Zara. She didn't give them his last name. That life didn't belong to them. 3 years passed like water. Sandra worked morning shifts at the hotel so she could be home by afternoon. Mrs. Chen's daughter came back from New York for visits and brought expensive toys the twins loved. Jade became the world's most devoted aunt, showing up with groceries and patience every time Sandra felt herself drowning. The twins grew. Isaiah was quiet and thoughtful, always watching. Zara was all energy and questions, demanding explanations for everything. They were happy. Sandra made sure of that. But sometimes late at night, she'd pull up photos of Ji-hoon online. Watch him at galas and press conferences. Wonder if he ever thought about that night. If he ever drove past the hotel and felt something pull in his chest. Probably not. Men like him didn't look back. Ji-hoon's father died on a Wednesday morning. Massive stroke, the doctors said. Quick and relatively painless. The funeral was enormous, full of people who'd never known the man, only his empire. Ji-hoon stood beside the casket and felt the weight of everything settled on his shoulders. Permanent now. No more delays. No more time. At the reading of the will, his father's lawyer cleared his throat. There's a condition, he said. For full control of the company. You must be married with an heir within 2 years, or the board has the right to appoint alternative leadership. He can't do that, Ji-hoon said. He did. It's all legal. 2 years. Ji-hoon walked out of the lawyer's office and drove. Without thinking, without planning, he found himself parked outside the Grand Meridian Hotel. The same hotel where everything had changed. He hadn't been back since that night. Now he sat in his car and stared at the entrance like it might hold answers. A woman came out through the service entrance. For a heartbeat, his chest seized. But it wasn't her. Different face, different walk. Of course it wasn't her. She was probably long gone. Probably married. Probably forgot him the moment he left. Still, he got out of the car. Walked to the front desk. I'm looking for someone who used to work here, he said. Housekeeping. Sandra. I don't know her last name. The young man at reception looked uncertain. I'm not supposed to give out employee information. Ji-hoon pulled out his wallet, then stopped. That's not who he wanted to be. Please, he said instead. It's important. Something in his voice must have registered. The receptionist typed something into his computer. Sandra Williams. Still works here, actually. Morning shift. She should be on floor 6, room 604 through 620. Ji-hoon's heart hammered. Thank you. He took the elevator up, his hands shaking. What was he doing? What would he even say? The doors opened on the 6th floor. He stepped out into the quiet hallway, the smell of fresh linen and cleaning products triggering memories. Her hands on his skin. Her laugh in the dark. The way she'd looked at him like he mattered. He heard singing. Soft and melodic, coming from an open doorway. He followed the sound. Sandra was changing sheets in 612, humming along to the music in her earbuds. She'd gotten faster over the years. Could strip and remake a bed in under 3 minutes now. She pulled the fitted sheet tight across the corners, smoothing out wrinkles. Behind her, someone cleared their throat. She turned, pulling out an earbud. Then froze. Ji-hoon stood in the doorway. Older, somehow. Lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. But unmistakably him. Sandra, he said, and her name in his mouth was exactly how she remembered. The sheet slipped from her fingers. You can't be here. I know. I'm sorry. I needed to see you. It's been 3 years. I know. You left. I know. She forced herself to breathe. What do you want? He stepped into the room, and she saw it then. The same exhaustion she'd recognized that first night. But deeper now. I don't know, he said honestly. I've thought about you every day. Every single day since that night. And I know I have no right to be here. I know I should have done so many things differently. But my father died and suddenly I'm supposed to have this whole life figured out and all I can think about is you. Sandra's hands clenched into fists. She wanted to scream at him. Wanted to tell him about Isaiah and Zara. About every sleepless night and every doctor's appointment. About the way Isaiah had his exact stubborn chin. The way Zara laughed just like him. But she also wanted to protect her children from this. From the complication of his world. From being heirs to something they'd never asked for. You need to leave, she said. Sandra. You're grieving. You're confused. But this, she gestured between them, this can't happen. You know it can't. Why not? Look at you. Look at me. Look at where we're standing. I don't care about any of that. Yes, you do. Maybe not right now, but you will. Your family will. Your company will. He moved closer. Let me decide what I care about. You don't get to decide, she said, her voice breaking. You don't get to show up after 3 years and act like we can just. Then tell me to go. Tell me you feel nothing and I'll walk away. I'll never bother you again. She opened her mouth. The lie sat ready on her tongue. But she'd never been good at lying. I can't do this right now, she whispered. I have work. I have responsibilities. When does your shift end? Ji-hoon. Please. Just coffee. 1 hour. Let me explain. Against every instinct screaming at her to protect herself, she heard herself say. 4 o'clock. The cafe, 2 blocks west. She almost didn't go. Stood in Mrs. Chen's bathroom at 3:45, staring at her reflection. The twins were at daycare until 6. She had time. But this was dangerous. This was playing with fire. Jade appeared in the doorway. Go. I shouldn't. Probably not. But you'll regret it forever if you don't. At least hear what he has to say. So Sandra went. Found him already there, sitting at a corner table. 2 cups of coffee waiting. He stood when he saw her. You remembered, she said, looking at the coffee. Cream, 2 sugars. They sat. For a long moment, neither spoke. I looked for you, he finally said. That morning. I woke up and you were in the shower and I panicked. I didn't know what to say. How to explain that I wasn't just some businessman. That my life was complicated. That if I stayed, if I gave you my real number, I'd be pulling you into something you hadn't signed up for. So I ran. And I've regretted it every day since. Sandra gripped her coffee cup. You could have come back. I tried. Dozens of times. I'd drive here and sit in the parking lot. But what was I supposed to say? Hi, remember me? I'm the coward who left without a word. Want to date someone whose family will dissect your entire life. So why now? She felt tears threatening. You don't know me. I know you're kind. I know you're strong. I know you looked at me like I was worth something beyond my last name. That's not enough. No, he agreed. But it's a start. If you'll let me try. If you'll give me a chance to know the rest. Sandra thought of her children asleep in their beds. Of the life she'd built from nothing. Of everything she'd lose if this went wrong. I have to tell you something, she said. Her phone buzzed. A text from the daycare, Zara has a fever. Can you come pick her up early? Sandra's heart sank. I have to go. What's wrong? Nothing. Just, I really have to go. She stood, grabbing her purse. Ji-hoon caught her hand. Tomorrow. Same time. Please. She should say no. Should end this before it began. But his hand was warm around hers and her heart was a traitor. Tomorrow, she agreed. Zara's fever broke overnight. By morning she was demanding pancakes and cartoons, no trace of sickness except slightly flushed cheeks. Isaiah brought her his favorite stuffed elephant without being asked. Make Zara feel better, he said solemnly. Sandra's heart cracked open watching them. They deserved to know their father. Didn't they? Or did they deserve protection from a world that might never accept them? She called in sick to work. Spent the day on the floor building block towers and reading stories. At 3:30, Jade arrived. Go, she said. I've got them. Jade. We can argue about whether this is smart later. Right now, go. Ji-hoon was waiting at the same table. This time there were pastries too. I wasn't sure what you'd like, he said. They sat. Sandra took a breath. That night, she began. It wasn't just, something happened after. He waited, his expression open. I got pregnant. The color drained from his face. We have twins. A boy and a girl. Ji-hoon sat back hard in his chair. His hand went to his mouth. For a long time, he didn't speak. Why didn't you tell me, he finally said. How? I didn't have your number. I didn't know who you really were until it was too late. And when I found out, she gestured helplessly, what was I supposed to do? Show up at Park Industries with a pregnancy test? Yes. God, yes. You should have. Should I have? Her voice rose. Really think about that. Some hotel maid you slept with once, claiming you got her pregnant? What would have happened to me? To them? The truth of it settled between them. I would have believed you, he said quietly. Maybe. But would your family? Your company? Your lawyers? He had no answer for that. What are their names? Isaiah and Zara. Can I? His voice cracked. Can I meet them? Sandra's chest tightened. This was the moment everything changed. I need you to understand something first, she said. I've raised them alone. They're happy. They're loved. If you come into their lives, you don't get to leave. You don't get to decide later that it's too complicated or that your family won't approve. You're all in or you're all out. There's no middle ground. I'm in, he said without hesitation. Your father just died. You're grieving. Don't make promises you can't. I'm in, he repeated. Sandra, I've spent 3 years hollow. You want to know why I really came looking for you? Because my father died trying to force me into a marriage I didn't want. Trying to create heirs like we're some kind of dynasty factory. And all I could think was that I already had something real. I had it and lost it because I was too afraid. I'm not afraid anymore. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. They ask about their father sometimes, she said softly. I told them he didn't know about them. That if he did, he would have stayed. You told them that? Ji-hoon reached across the table and took both her hands. It is true. God, Sandra, it is. I would have, if I'd known. I know. They sat like that, hands linked, the weight of 3 years between them. So what now? He asked. Now you meet your children, she said. And we figure out the rest as we go. She brought him to Mrs. Chen's apartment on a Saturday morning. Jade had taken the twins to the park. Sandra needed time to prepare him first. They're intense, she said, unlocking the door. Isaiah is quiet but he notices everything. Zara never stops talking. They're both terrifyingly smart. The apartment was small but warm. Toys organized in bins. Drawings covering the refrigerator. Photos everywhere, the twins as newborns, as toddlers, missing teeth and covered in birthday cake. Ji-hoon moved through the space like it was sacred ground. He picked up a photo of Sandra holding both babies, her eyes exhausted but blazing with fierce love. You did this alone, he said, and it wasn't a question. Not completely alone. Jade. Mrs. Chen. They helped. Still. He set the photo down and turned to her. I know I can't make up for lost time. I know I can't fix the fact that I wasn't here. But I'm here now. And I'm not going anywhere. The door burst open. Mom. We saw 3 dogs and a. Zara stopped dead. Isaiah bumped into her from behind. Both children stared at the stranger in their living room. Sandra's heart hammered. Isaiah, Zara, this is someone I want you to meet. This is Ji-hoon. He looks like me, Isaiah said, tilting his head. Ji-hoon's breath caught. He was right. Isaiah had his eyes, his nose, even the way he stood with his weight slightly forward. You do look alike, Sandra agreed, her voice shaking. Who is he? Zara demanded, always the direct one. He's your father. The words hung in the air. Zara looked at Ji-hoon with pure skepticism. We don't have a father. You do now, Sandra said gently. He didn't know about you before. But he does now. And he wants to know you. If that's okay with you. Isaiah stepped forward. Studied Ji-hoon with an intensity that was unnerving in a 3-year-old. Did you make my mom sad? Ji-hoon knelt down so they were eye level. Yes, he said. I did. And I'm sorry. I made a mistake. But I'm going to try very hard to make it better. If you'll let me. Do you like elephants? Isaiah asked. Yes? Good. Isaiah seemed satisfied with this answer. I have 17 elephants. I can show you. Zara wasn't convinced so easily. She crossed her arms. Jade says fathers are supposed to be there when you're born. Jade is right, Ji-hoon said. I should have been there. I wish I had been. Why weren't you? I didn't know. If I had known, nothing could have kept me away. Zara considered this. Can you do a handstand? What? Jade can do a handstand. Mommy can't. Can you? Ji-hoon looked helplessly at Sandra. She shrugged, fighting a smile. I'm not sure. Then you have to learn, Zara declared. Come on, Isaiah. We have to teach him. Just like that, she grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the living room. Isaiah followed, already explaining the biomechanics of balance. Jade appeared next to Sandra. Well, that's happening. That's happening, Sandra echoed. They watched as Ji-hoon attempted a handstand with both children offering contradictory advice. He fell. Got up. Tried again. The twins dissolved into giggles. For the first time in 3 years, Sandra let herself imagine a future she'd forbidden herself from wanting. The next weeks were strange and awkward and unexpectedly beautiful. Ji-hoon came every day. Sometimes just for an hour. Sometimes for the whole afternoon. He learned that Isaiah loved dinosaurs and Zara was obsessed with space. He read them stories in his accented English, stumbling over words while they corrected him. He built block towers and played Tea Party and sat through endless explanations of playground politics. He was terrible at it at first. Too formal, too uncertain. But he tried. And the twins, with the easy acceptance of children, let him. One night, after the twins were asleep, he and Sandra sat on the small balcony. My family doesn't know yet, he said quietly. About them. About you. I know. I'm going to tell them. They won't approve. I don't care. Sandra turned to him. You say that now. But when they threaten the company? When they make my life hell? When they try to take custody or... They won't. You can't promise that. No, he admitted. But I can promise I'll fight. Fight for you. For them. For this. He gestured at the small apartment, the toys scattered across the floor inside, the life she'd built. This is more real than anything I've ever had. She wanted to believe him. But she'd learned to be careful with hope. Ji-hoon told his mother on a Tuesday. She sat in the formal living room of the family estate, back straight, face impassive. He told her everything. When he finished, the silence stretched so long he thought she might never speak. Finally, you have children. Yes. With an African-American hotel maid. What? His mother said. I'm getting to know her. And our children. His mother set down her teacup with careful precision. This will destroy everything your father built. Or save it, Ji-hoon said. Father wanted heirs. I have them. He wanted legitimate heirs. From an appropriate marriage. His mother replied. They are legitimate. They're my blood. My children. The board will never accept. Then the board can find new leadership. I'm done living my life for other people's approval. His mother's expression cracked slightly. You sound like your father. When he was young. Before duty crushed it out of him. Then maybe I can do better. She studied him for a long moment. Bring them here. What? If they're to be part of this family, I should meet them. And their mother. It wasn't approval. But it was something. Sandra stared at the address Ji-hoon had written down. You want me to bring the twins to your family estate. My mother wants to meet you. That's not reassuring. I know. But it's a start. She's trying, Sandra. In her way. Sandra looked at Jade. This is a terrible idea, Jade said. Agreed, Sandra said. But you're going to do it anyway. I have to. For them. Saturday came too quickly. Sandra dressed the twins in their nicest clothes. Isaiah in a button-down shirt he immediately tried to untuck. Zara in a dress she declared was too itchy. We'll be on our best behavior, Sandra told them for the 100th time. What's best behavior? Zara asked. No handstands, Isaiah said solemnly. Close enough. The park estate was enormous. A sprawling traditional hammock mixed with modern architecture. Gardens that looked like paintings. Security at the gate who eyed them with barely concealed suspicion. Ji-hoon met them at the entrance. He looked nervous. She's waiting in the tea room. This is really happening, Sandra said. We can leave if you want. No. Let's get this over with. Ji-hoon's mother was smaller than Sandra expected. Elegant in a way that seemed effortless. She looked at Sandra without expression. Then her gaze dropped to the twins. Something flickered in her eyes. They have the park nose, she said. Mom. It's not a criticism. Merely an observation. She gestured to cushions arranged around a low table. Please, sit. They sat. Isaiah and Zara were uncharacteristically quiet, sensing the tension. You are Sandra Williams. Yes, ma'am. And these are Isaiah and Zara. Yes, ma'am. They speak Korean? We're learning, Isaiah piped up. I can count to 20. The smallest smile touched the corner of Mrs. Park's mouth. Show me. Isaiah counted carefully in Korean, stumbling over 15 but pushing through. When he finished, he looked at her with hope. Very good, she said. Your pronunciation needs work, but very good. Zara, emboldened, said, I know 3 words. Hello, thank you, and elephant. Why elephant? Because Isaiah loves elephants, so I had to learn it. Mrs. Park looked at Ji-hoon. Something unspoken passed between them. Ms. Williams, she said, turning back to Sandra. I will be honest. This is not the situation I would have chosen for my family. But I can see that my son cares for you. And these children, they are Parks, whether I approve or not. The question is what we do now. I'm not asking for anything from your family, Sandra said carefully. I've raised them on my own. I can continue. That won't be necessary. If Ji-hoon acknowledges them, they'll be provided for. I don't want your money. I don't care what you want. They are my grandchildren. They will not be raised in poverty. They're not in poverty. They're happy. They could be happy and secure. Mrs. Park. Would you deny them opportunities because of pride? The question hit home. Sandra thought of Isaiah asking why they couldn't afford the science camp all his friends attended. Zara wanting ballet lessons they'd had to delay. The constant calculation of every dollar. No, she admitted quietly. Good. Then we understand each other. This is not charity. This is family taking care of family. Mrs. Park stood. You'll come to dinner next Saturday. 7 o'clock. Formal dress. It was a command, not an invitation. She swept from the room. Ji-hoon let out a breath. That went better than I expected. She hates me, Sandra said. She doesn't hate you. She needs time. We don't have time, Ji-hoon. Every day I wait to tell them who you really are. Every day we keep this quiet, it gets more complicated. I know. I'm handling it. Are you? Or are you just hoping it magically works out? The twins were exploring the tea room, touching expensive pottery with sticky fingers. I need to know this is real, Sandra said. Not just for me. For them. Because if you wake up one day and decide this is too hard. He pulled her close. This is real. You are real. They are real. Everything else is just noise. She let herself lean into him, just for a moment. Breathing in the possibility of belief. The dinner was excruciating. Sandra wore a dress Jade had helped her pick out, something simple but elegant. The twins wore matching outfits that made them look like small adults. The dining room could have seated 30. It was just the four of them and Mrs. Park. Conversation was stilted and formal. Mrs. Park asked questions like an interrogation. Where was Sandra from? What were her parents' professions? What were her intentions? I don't have intentions, Sandra finally said. I'm just trying to do what's best for my kids. Our grandchildren, Mrs. Park corrected. The possessive pronoun hung in the air. After dinner, Mrs. Park asked to speak to Ji-hoon privately. Sandra took the twins to the garden, her stomach in knots. Isaiah found a koi pond and became immediately fascinated. Zara wanted to know if they could live in a house like this. Would you want to? Sandra asked. Only if you and Daddy came too. The casual daddy hit Sandra in the chest. When did that happen? When did he become Daddy instead of Ji-hoon? I need to ask you something. Are you happy? With Ji-hoon around? Yes. He's funny when he tries to cook. Isaiah nodded agreement, still watching the fish. Would you be sad if he wasn't around anymore? Both children looked at her with identical expressions of alarm. Is Daddy leaving? Isaiah asked. No, baby. I'm just checking. Don't let him leave, Zara said fiercely. I like having a daddy. Sandra pulled them both close, blinking back tears. Ji-hoon found them there 10 minutes later. His face was unreadable. What did she say? Sandra asked. She's willing to announce them. Publicly. As my children and heirs to the company. Sandra's breath caught. That's good? There's a condition. Of course there was. What condition? She wants us to get married. The world tilted slightly. What? She says if they're going to be legitimate heirs, we need to be a legitimate family. It's old-fashioned and outdated, but... You told her no. He was quiet. Ji-hoon. You told her no. I told her I'd discuss it with you. Sandra stood, putting space between them. We've known each other a total of what, 3 weeks? Spread over 3 years? And your mother wants us to get married? It would solve a lot of problems. It would create more. We're not, this isn't some business merger. I know that. Do you? Because it sounds like you're actually considering this. I'm considering what's best for Isaiah and Zara. Don't you dare use them as an excuse. They need a father, yes. But they don't need parents who got married because your mother demanded it. What if I want to, he said quietly. Sandra stopped. What? What if I want to marry you? Not because my mother said so. Not because of the company. But because every time I'm with you, I remember what it feels like to breathe. Because you see me, actually see me, not the company or the money or any of it. Because when I watch you with our children, I think, this. This is what I've been missing my whole life. That's not love, Ji-hoon. That's gratitude and obligation, and it's not obligation when I can't stop thinking about you. It's not gratitude when I lie awake imagining a future where this, he gestured at the garden, at them, is every day instead of stolen moments. I know it's fast. I know we have things to figure out. But I also know I've never been more certain of anything. Sandra's eyes burned. You can't just, people don't just. Why not? Why can't we? We already have children together. We already care about each other. Why can't we try? Because I'm terrified, she admitted. Because this could destroy me. Because every time I start to believe this is real, I remember that you're you and I'm me and the world doesn't work like this. He stepped closer. Then let's make it work. It's not that simple. It is. It can be. If we choose it. She looked at her children, playing peacefully in a garden that could be theirs. At this man who'd crashed back into her life and upended everything. At the future stretched out before them, uncertain and terrifying and impossibly fragile. I can't marry you right now, she said. I won't rush into this just to satisfy your family or the company or anyone else. If we do this, we do it right. We date. We figure out who we are together. We make sure the twins are okay with all of this. And if, after all that, we still want the same things, then we get married, he finished. Maybe. He smiled, and it transformed his entire face. I'll take maybe. They tried. For 6 months, they tried to build something real. Ji-hoon moved into an apartment near Sandra's so he could see the twins daily. They did normal things. Park visits and grocery shopping and homework help. Sandra met his friends, who seemed shocked by the entire situation but warmed to her eventually. Ji-hoon started learning to cook, filling the apartment with smoke alarms and laughter. They fought about stupid things like bedtimes and sugar intake. Made up in quiet moments after the twins were asleep. Slowly, impossibly, it started to feel like a family. But the outside world was waiting. News of Ji-hoon's children leaked somehow. Suddenly their faces were everywhere. Paparazzi outside the daycare. Reporters shouting questions. Speculation about the mystery woman and her children. Sandra's life became a circus overnight. She lost her job at the hotel. Not officially because of the scandal, but everyone knew. Mrs. Chen was apologetic but firm. The reporters are harassing guests. I can't. I understand, Sandra said. But she didn't. Not really. Ji-hoon offered to support her financially. She refused. They fought about it for the first time. This is my fault, he said. Let me fix it. I'm not a problem to be fixed with money. That's not what I meant. You shouldn't have to struggle because of me. I've always struggled, Ji-hoon. That's not new. What's new is you thinking you can swoop in and solve everything. I'm trying to help. Then help by not treating me like I'm helpless. She found a new job. Night shift at a hospital, cleaning surgical suites. The pay was better but the hours were brutal. Ji-hoon took the twins in the evenings, bringing them home when Sandra got back at dawn. One night, Sandra came home to find all three of them asleep on the couch. Some animated movie still playing on the TV. Ji-hoon's arm around both children. Zara's head on his chest. Isaiah curled into his side. They looked like a photograph. Complete. Sandra stood in the doorway and let herself cry. From exhaustion. From relief. From the terrifying realization that she was falling in love with him. Really, truly in love. Not just grateful or attracted or hopeful. In love. Ji-hoon's eyes opened. He saw her there, tears streaming down her face. Hey, he said softly, careful not to wake the twins. What's wrong? Nothing. Everything. I don't know. He gently extracted himself from the children, covering them with a blanket. Led Sandra to the kitchen. Made her tea without asking. Talk to me, he said. I'm tired. I'm scared. She took a shaky breath. I think I love you. And I don't know what to do with that. His face softened. You could start by believing I love you too. Do you? Or do you just love the idea of us? The family we could be? Both, he admitted. Is that so bad? Can't I love all of it? What if it falls apart? What if it doesn't? She laughed, almost hysterical. You're impossible. I prefer optimistic. He pulled her close. They stood there in the small kitchen, holding each other while the city woke up outside. Marry me, he whispered against her hair. We've had this conversation. I know. But I'm going to keep asking until you say yes. Because this is it for me. You're it. Them. This life we're building. I don't want temporary. I don't want maybe. I want forever. Forever is a long time. Not long enough. Sandra pulled back to look at him. Really look at him. At the man who'd shown up every single day for 6 months. Who learned to braid hair and make mac and cheese and read bedtime stories. Who fought with his family to protect her. Who looked at her like she hung the moon. Ask me again in 6 months, she said. I'll ask you tomorrow. Ji-hoon. And the next day. And the next. Until you believe I'm not going anywhere. He kept his word. Asked her every single day. In different ways. Over breakfast. During park visits. Once in front of his entire board of directors during a meeting she'd been dragged to. The twins thought it was hilarious. Started a tally chart. That's 47 times Daddy asked Mommy to marry him, Zara would announce. She should say yes, Isaiah would add seriously. I love Daddy. On day 183, Sandra said yes. They were at the beach. Just the 4 of them. Isaiah was building an elaborate sand castle. Zara was hunting for shells. Ji-hoon was helping with both, somehow. Sandra watched them and thought, this is enough. This is everything. Yes, she said. Ji-hoon looked up from the sand castle. What? You asked me to marry you. I'm saying yes. He froze. You're serious? Unless you've changed your mind in the last 2 hours. He was across the sand in 3 strides, lifting her up and spinning her around. The twins came running. What's happening? Zara demanded. Your mom just said yes, Ji-hoon said, his voice full of wonder. Yes to what? Isaiah asked. To marrying me. Both children erupted into cheers. Finally! Zara shouted. Do I get to be a flower girl? Obviously, Sandra said, laughing and crying at once. Isaiah hugged Ji-hoon's legs. Does this mean you're staying forever? Forever and ever, Ji-hoon promised. They stood there on the beach, the 4 of them, holding each other while waves crashed nearby. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was better. Real and messy and earned. The wedding was small. Just family and close friends. Mrs. Park cried during the ceremony. Jade gave a speech that made everyone laugh until they couldn't breathe. Isaiah and Zara served as ring bearer and flower girl. Zara took her job very seriously. Isaiah dropped the rings twice but recovered with impressive composure. When Ji-hoon and Sandra kissed, the twins cheered louder than anyone. At the reception, Mrs. Park approached Sandra. I was wrong about you, she said simply. Mrs. Park. You make him happy. You gave him something I never could. A real family. Thank you. It was the closest thing to approval Sandra had ever gotten. She'd take it. They moved into a new house. Big enough for all 4 of them plus the chaos that came with twins. Ji-hoon worked from home when he could. Sandra went back to school, finally pursuing that nursing degree. The twins started kindergarten. Life became beautifully ordinary. Breakfast arguments about vegetables. Homework battles. Bedtime negotiations. But also Sunday morning pancakes. Impromptu dance parties. Reading together on the couch. The quiet moments between the chaos where they'd catch each other's eyes and smile. Because they'd made it. Against all odds and expectations. They'd made it. On their first anniversary, Ji-hoon took Sandra back to the Grand Meridian Hotel. Booked the exact room where they'd met. This is ridiculous, she said, laughing. This is romantic, he corrected. They stood in the small room that had started everything. I was terrified that night, Sandra admitted. I almost didn't go to the bar. I'm glad you did. Me too. He pulled her close. I spent 3 years regretting leaving this room. I'm never making that mistake again. Good. Because you're stuck with me now. Promise? Promise. They kissed in that small hotel room, surrounded by the ghosts of who they used to be. 2 people who'd found each other in the dark. Built something beautiful from a single night. Proved that sometimes, against all logic and reason, the impossible could become real. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. If you enjoy this story, please like, share and subscribe for more interesting stories.